No speeches, please. Huh? Only one or two bullet points of what you liked from yesterday to today overall event. So, Mike is coming out to you. Anybody who is volunteering to start. Any experience that you want to share? From yesterday to now? I see, sorry. I see Shrikant Garu here. He generally speaks less, so we need to spot them.
The Junicorns is my favorite. I spent a lot of time there, and I'm looking forward to this session primarily because of that as well. Thank you.
Junicorn is the answer. I know someone came from Germany and sitting quietly. So, sir, from yesterday to today, anything that you are call out?
It's very difficult to say which is the best one when all of them are the very best. But nevertheless, I think one of the agri-tech startups today was quite good and very impressive. I think it needs to be taken to the higher levels. Thank you.
Thank you, Rajagaru. We are good? Yes, sir. Yep. So now we are going to have fireside chat.
Good afternoon, everyone. So we are moving forward to our next session. Hope you all had a wonderful lunch. So coming back, I'm excited to introduce our next fireside chat. Moving away from the conventional roundtables, the fireside chat will bring even more exciting insights and stories forward to you. So this fireside chat is titled Startup to Scale Up, a story of resilience and relentless pursuit. As a 21-year-old, very young, recently passed out from college, I'm very passionate about the startup ecosystem and looking forward to inspiration from distinguished guests at such distinguished platforms. So I can't wait to introduce our distinguished guests of the fireside chat. So first we have Hitesh Sachdev sir, who is a veteran of ICICI Bank, who heads the startup and innovation engagements at the bank. Sir's experience is even larger than my age, but he looks very young and energetic when seen in person. Let's all give a big round of applause to Hitesh Sachdev sir from ICICI Bank. If you are a startup and you're looking for some mentoring and investments, sir is the person. Next up we have Gaurav Samdaria sir, the Chief Growth Officer at Perfios. He co-founded and served as a director for Karza Technologies. He's also a distinguished young entrepreneur awarded by Business World, and also he's featured in Fortune's 40 Under 40. A big round of applause to Hitesh Samdaria sir. So he also manages a venture firm, so you can also look forward to him for mentoring. Lastly, but not the least, we have Apurv Kumar sir. He's the co-founder and CTO of Refine, a FinTech company. His startup aims at addressing the pay gap which salaried employees face between the pay cycles. So if my salary comes on 5th and the month started on 1st, and there's a pay gap, right, between the 1st and the 5th. So his startup aims at addressing that. Give it up for our fireside chat guests, and let's look forward to hearing from them.
Hello. Yeah. So, first of all, thank you, Jay sir, for having all of us here. And, I always, tell Jay sir is a young boy. His energy, enthusiasm, and exuberance, catches up with all of us. and the kind of work he's doing, for promoting and nurturing the startup ecosystem in India is really, we can have one round of applause for, Jay sir. Yeah. So, in this panel, I have one entrepreneur, Gaurav, who exited his startup, and sold off at $100 million. And, I have another entrepreneur who did his first round of funding of $100 million, So, feeling very kind of, up the, and speaking to both of these dynamic and dashing entrepreneurs, I would request, each, Gaurav and, Apurva, maybe we can start with Gaurav, tell us, brief about, how did you started and, one important question, which Hyderabad, we say that's very famous slang, kaiku. So, kaiku startup becha apna. पहले तो kaiku startup चालू किया और फिर kaiku startup बेचा. So both kaiku, we need to hear from you. So when we start with your story,
So thank you so much for having me, Hitesh, and the ISF, especially Mr. Chaudhary. Thank you so much. It's a wonderful forum. So kaiku chalu kiya because karne ko kuch aur tha nahi. So I am a CA, CS, CFA, FRM. But I didn't know that, when you have too many qualifications, it becomes increasingly difficult to get a job. I learned that the hard way. Even with the jobs that I was getting, basically, I think my first job, I got a 5% hike after being a AAA employee. And I said, there 7% is the inflation rate. So you're eroding my value. So I understood very quickly that if you have to create wealth, it may not come so easily if I have to follow the normal salaried, person route, where year on year you're waiting for a hike and then a promotion, hike, promotion, or you skip jobs for, the double bonanza. But I would say that my destiny sort of took me to a place where I got exposure into startups of friends. Then I co-founded an agency with someone else where I was a very small shareholder. And then I understood that most of these people who were building these companies, there is nothing extraordinary about them. How you think that, oh, Elon Musk must be God, right? Even he's a normal human being. So if they can, then why can't I? And basically the naivety sort of led me to start. Kaiku Becha. So basically, whenever Omkar and I, who's my other co-founder, we had a very specific goal that the day we get X amount of money in our bank account as surplus cash before we are 40, we'll be happy. And we got the opportunity where God favored us, gave us more than what we deserved also. So greed is infinite, right? So we thought that, okay, abhi mil raha hai, to le lo. And that is the reason why we exited.
And obviously we'll also come, and cover the, the in between, the starting up and the exit part of it. But before I come there, let me, switch over to Apurva. So Apurva, you guys, raised, $100 million, right, in the one of, the first rounds almost, and most of the startups probably they do Series A, B, C, D, and probably, garner such kind of, amount. And also, I know, there were a lot of, investors chasing you, right? I mean, in terms of investing into Refine. So, how do you feel about, raising capital, such a large capital? How does one feel, you have $100 million in a bank account, and you all of a feel all the investors are chasing you, you are darling of all the investors, kya feeling aata hai?
I think, first of all, thank you so much to Chaudhary sir and the entire ISF team for organizing this event. Great to see so many budding entrepreneurs. Thank you so much for Hitesh sir for that question, and also your investment in Refine. So, how does it feel to be able to get all that capital. I think a lot of pressure. The more capital you get, if you're seeing the company in the right way, it's a lot of pressure. The more capital you have, the more pressure it is, because that's a quantified way of saying how many promises you have made. Whether you have made 100 million promises basically to the investors, right? And you have to come through on that, and you have to generate a lot of return for them. You have to generate a lot of return for the employees who have joined us and putting their heart and soul into the business, working day, night, in order to make the business successful. So it's absolutely empowering that you have all that capital at your disposal, but you should feel an equal amount of responsibility to make sure that everyone who has taken that trust and bet on you is equally or more successful than you are. So it does add a lot of pressure, and it also helps you fulfill your vision. Without capital, it is hard to achieve a level of scale that you would want to, whether it's the ability to serve so many customers, whether it's to hire the best talent in the industry. So capital does help with that. But I think purely from a sentiment perspective, it is a lot of pressure and a lot of trust that people have put in us.
Yeah, and जब ये refine आपने, you started with this idea of refine, तो क्या कभी आपका खुद का सैलरी डिले हो गया था क्या? कभी आपको पैसे का जरूरत था, and did you face that and then you thought of starting refine? What was the genesis?
All the time. So, I mean, I was lucky to do my graduation from IIT, and then after was at Goldman Sachs for the longest time. And it was the most comfortable setup that anyone could be a part of. In fact, people join Goldman and just retire there. So that was the easy part. After that, I was a founding member at a startup again. And that was the genesis of my entire journey. We were into lending at that point, and funding comes and goes. So there were quite a few occasions where my salary did not come for 2-3 months, and then you have to keep fighting anyway. So you have to have that level of perseverance if you're in the startup. If you're in the startup, I don't think you go there to make tons of money on day one. You have to realize that it is a long journey, and if every day you're just looking at how much money you have made, it becomes almost impossible to execute. So you need to have something deeper. But then from an idea perspective, what I did see running a lending startup was what were the problems our customers were facing. So we used to see that every 25th or 26th or 28th, we used to get an absolute upsurge in terms of number of customers who are asking for loans. And we went deeper into exactly what problems people were facing. So it was a liquidity crunch. So end of the month, their salaries would run out. Next 7, 8, 10 days, they're going to get their salary, and they're struggling to make ends meet during that period. It's not like they're not going to get that money in the future, but for those 7 days, they would reach out to one of these exploitative payday lenders who will give them money at 200%, 300% interest rate, and basically get them into a debt trap. So our entire vision was to serve people and make sure that they never have to reach out to any payday lender, that their employer actually helps them get early access to their salary itself.
Coming to Gaurav, you kind of did a wonderful stint in terms of, a very short span of time, you could, scale up Karza. So, and you had to deal with most of the enterprise customers, right? And it's very tough to do sales in enterprise, enterprise sales. It takes journeys 6 months, sometimes 9, 12 months. And then also many times you don't get success, right? I mean, how did you master this art of enterprise sales? And, many of the startups founders in the room, they are actually curious to know how do one becomes a great, salesperson when it comes to enterprise sales?
Sure. So I think there were two things that went right for us. First was obviously the product itself. It was a very good product. We were first in the market. We were a category creator, and we kept building. Another thing about the product itself was that it's unlike, very, very large B2B enterprise deployments, ours could go live in less than a week. So that used to be a very good, most B2B spokespersons, or rather my clients, for them it would be, okay, immediately live ho jayega. I don't have to go taking 100 approvals. It's not, our ticket size used to be 1 rupee per verification, 10 rupee per verification. So you're not going and taking approvals which runs into hundreds of crores, right, at times. But I think from a cold start perspective, when we had just launched the company, none of us came from a lending background, a banking background. We've seen, and with most like a Nucleus, Nugents of the world, they've got banking veterans doing sales for them. So we had no right to win. So what led then to the conversion? Again, like I said, it was primarily naivety coupled with perseverance. Naivety to the sense that, okay, if I approach someone through LinkedIn, they should be able to respond to me. In a manner where I think after a year, right, LinkedIn had started hazing profiles because they thought that I was a bot. Because I used to visit that many profiles in a day, spam so many people, and we didn't even know who my right customer is. It is a risk department, fraud department, digital operations. मतलब जहाँ तीर लगता है निशाना मारो. So that is what worked in the initial days. The second thing that actually worked in our favor, which I learned very recently, was the manner in which we used to do the sales. So the traditional sales process would have been that, okay, you arrive in the room, you introduce yourself in 1-2 lines, you open a deck and then you run by the deck, right? I didn't know that because I have never taken a demo from someone to know that, okay, this is the actual protocol. So I used to speak about myself, speak about the product at 100 feet level, and straight jump into the demo. That, okay, hey, this is literally the product. आप अपना PAN number बताइए, see I can validate, driving license, and so on and so forth. So people used to be like, hey, यार ये बंदा अच्छा है, मेरा 1 घंटे में इसने कोई time waste नहीं किया. आया, product दिखाया, price भी बता दिया, and I used to handshake and get out because I used to ask the person that, okay, now tell me, are you going to take this product or no? So then I'll accordingly waste my time on you, right? So that worked.
Waste or invest.
So waste or invest. So people used to respect that fact that, okay, there is no nonsense. We are very flexible. We used to give top-notch service to our customers. I have only one mobile number that even if someone calls me at 12 in the night, right, I have to pick up the phone so that अगर दूसरा number होगा तो मैं पहला number बंद कर दूंगा तो एक ही number रखा. So that is the genesis or the kind of thought process through which we built our company.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. I think great, takeaways, right? I mean, and I believe that as an entrepreneur, one has to be seamless. I mean, you keep knocking the door, and keep knocking it again and again and again. Someday, someone will open the door, right? So, Gaurav, but when you kind of, started, you chose the very unconventional name, right? Karza, and Karza means debt, and 50, connotations come into your mind when you, hear the word Karza. It looks like a burden sometimes, and how did you kind of, go about it? Why did you select this name?
So the original idea that we had come up with was peer-to-peer lending, that there is a host of borrowers and a host of individuals, HNIs, etc., who want to lend to them. At that time in India, this wasn't as a concept existing. And just like he was solving for, Apurva solves for, the underreached or basically absolutely, desperate folks who need to let's say resort to payday loan. So we thought that, okay, hey, why should Karz be such a bad thing? So our idea was going to be karza.in or karza.com. Karz buri baat nahi hai. And encourage people to take loans from our platform.
Fantastic.
That was,
you were working for us, as a bank. Yeah, so romanticizing the entire Karza, concept. Yeah. Fantastic. So, switching the sides, Apurva, you guys have been able to build one of the largest EWA, startup in the, I suppose, in the world now, right? I mean, soon you are also getting profitable also, right? I mean, how do you, kind of manage this, right? One, you've been scaling fast. Second, you're also ensuring that, you're breaking even, How do you balance this, because many times when, founder starts chasing the growth, you end up compromising on the profitability. And, I think, but for you guys, you have been able to manage both, I mean, so maybe if you can share some, insights with our, entrepreneurs here.
Absolutely. And I think there are various schools of thought. So there is no perfect way of creating companies. Ours is a particular school of thought, and it's my second time doing it. Chitresh, who is my co-founder, it's his third startup. So from all the learnings that we have had in the past, we had a particular view that we want to build a sustainable business. What we are trying to do here is, our parents have given us a good platform that we operate out of. They have built a stable family, stable ecosystem, which allowed us to get our education and then build on top of it. The entire idea was, can we build big things on top of it? Can we build something that our parents would be proud of, and can we build a legacy around it? So we wanted to build something that is fundamentally sustainable, and we are not at the mercy of constantly raising investment the entire time. That requires you to operate with certain philosophies. You can't just indiscriminately chase growth. You have to take a look at, okay, what value am I providing to the customer? How much are they willing to pay for it? And will they continue to pay for it for a reasonable period of time? And the service you're providing has to constantly keep improving, because people's expectations will keep going up. So keeping all these things in mind, we have been a fairly frugal company, fairly lean company in how we execute. Although having a lot of funding helps you get that safety net, but we have actually not deployed majority of our funding. The goal has been that our business should be sustaining itself rather than constantly deploying equity funding. And that is where, and honestly, the entire company came together on this philosophy, and that's how we have been able to operate, and we are very close to profitability despite having amazing growth over these 3.5 years that we have existed for.
And Apurva, I remember, one conversation where we had one of the very large sovereign fund, came with a very large check, investment check, and at a valuations probably we could have not imagined even, right? And we all discussed, and probably you guys said that, we don't want, like in Hyderabad, we say nakko money, no more money now, So, how did you what was going on in your mind when you said nakko?
So I think we see investment capital, again, as I mentioned, it's a responsibility. So the choice is not that whether you want all that money or not. I mean, if money came around for free, I don't think any rational person would say no. But I think it comes with a lot of responsibility and promises that you're making to the other person. And the way we are going, we don't want the business to need money. We want to use money for very, very strategic reasons. And we did not have a clear strategic reason for taking that kind of investment, and therefore we did not. Although it does help purely from a morale perspective, it's an amazing validation that massive entities are willing to take a bet on you, and then they have seen the kind of success that you have created and the team has created, and they want to become a part of that story. So as flattering and as helpful to the morale it is, we did not want to undertake that responsibility. We feel like with the existing investors, with the current capital that we have, we will be able to give everyone a great success story at the end of it, and that's what we want to deliver.
Oh, fantastic. I think the respect for capital and judicious use of capital, I think, are the two important aspects, which every entrepreneur should probably learn. And, we have seen, people chasing only valuations and, the funding rounds. But here comes, the story where, people are conscious about, valuing each pie of the capital you raise from the investors, right? So very well said, Apurva. Thank you. Turning tables, Gaurav, I had the privilege to kind of, work with you at very early stage, in your journey. And I still remember those days, and, the kind of, passion you and kind of Omkar, you brought on the table. And I remember one conversation where I think both of you guys were actually, putting your house on mortgage and, taking a loan, right, to invest into your startup rather than going to investors and ask for money, and that point in time in those conversations, it clicked me that, hey, here is the founder who is willing to put everything on the stake, for his startup, right? And so itna commitment, itna convince, confidence, kahan se laate ho aap, and that early stage,
Fair. So I think it'll be the third time I'll say this, but naivety. But to be very honest, I think, see, it's not that we didn't go out to raise money. We tried. but we failed miserably. We now 2 chartered accountants starting a tech company with no lending experience in lending, no banking connect, selling B2B software, etc., etc. It's a recipe for disaster, right? If I had to put in money in bunch of guys who are trying to sell me something like this, obviously I wouldn't. So, and that's what happened with most early stage VCs, right? So we said that, yaar, okay, so यहाँ से नहीं कल रही है, you try the second best option. So we were utterly shameless, right? There was no stop word or there was no give up word in the dictionary. So initially we said that, okay, if other people are not trusting us, let's just take loans and put in. So my dad had borrowed from some client, Omkar, mortgaged his house to basically run his house and fund the company for the initial MVP. Once we built the MVP, still people are not ready to put in money. I was like, yaar, abhi to bana bhi diya hai, prove bhi kar rahe hain ki aa rahe hain log. We said, theek hai. So then we went to angel route, right? So angel also, we raised just 2.5 crores, which I know it's a big amount for us, at least it was definitely. Small amount when you compare it here. But it was, for that we diluted 33% and we had to go, we raised it from 21 angels. Okay, and 21 is the people who agreed to give money. Actual count is far, far greater. So for a good 1 year, I would say that I was just begging in a suit, and I think it was just the fact that we were not ready to give up, right? As your agenda also said, right? That perseverance. So I think somewhere that that saying is there, right? Universe will work with you to make it happen. Literally, so I think to a certain extent, yes, naivety, etc., is appreciable, but it's not the right recipe. But having said that, you need to be, fortune favors the bold, right? And sometimes you have to also be foolish to be bold. So that worked. Of course, now let's say if I have to do this again, I will think 100 times. I'll do my research. I'll do TAM understanding. The entire workshop, jo apne ko pata hai, right? That what is the right formula to at least, let's say, build a company or build a business, build a dhanda. So that is where we then pivoted to. So rather than building a business that would, let's say, bleed even a single rupee, we said, okay, this is the last time I'm going around begging for money. Now I will run this like a traditional Marwadi business. Just focus on unit economics, focus on money, hire only the right amount of people that is required rather than that excess. And this is while our competition is raising 10 million, 15 million, right? So I think that also fueled the fire that if they are doing it and we were not getting that conviction, I will prove everyone wrong. So that is what actually drives, that non-stop aggressive growth charter for smaller business.
Fantastic, fantastic. And let me do some little bit of marketing for ICICI also. You're part of our, cohort, first cohort, very proud of you built in. But what were the initial, kind of early days, how you could, define, those days at ICICI lab,
So I think, so we formally incorporated in 15, and I think in 16 or early 17, we were already a part of the lab, right? So for us, it mainly gave 3 things, right? One is validation, that a bank such as ICICI Bank is willing to give us seats, give us access. Second thing was the access, and access not just to capital or basically chance of capital also, it was to the teams within ICICI who could come, see our product, understand, give feedback, right? And at the stage at which we were, that is all that we wanted from our customers. And then third, obviously, would be the another, I would say, mainly new ideas. That, okay, this is what you're doing, great. Tum ye bhi kar sakte ho kya? Can you also solve this for us? So I would say that close to 90% of Karza's products came from client feedbacks. And obviously the cornerstone or the foundation stone was laid by ICICI Bank.
Thank you, Gaurav. Apurv, so, how does one, pitch with the investors, right? And you guys raised, from one of the top, global funds of the world, right? I mean, these are great marquee investors. It's not also about capital, but also getting the right set of people on your cap table, right? And many of the entrepreneurs here in the room, are in their early stages, raising, funds from investors. So maybe some kind of advice or how one should approach, when they want to raise capital.
I think there is easy capital and then there is smart capital available out there. So there are a lot of people who are in the market to invest. And as entrepreneurs, when you go out there to raise funds, you will encounter people who realize the potential of your business and are willing to come into the picture. Our take on taking investments is we try to bring on board people that we look up to. So just to give you an example, our first investor was QED Capital, which was basically the team of Capital One Bank. So they created this massive bank in USA and they are operators. So basically they created a company. And after that, they started investing. Those were founders that we looked up to. So Nigel Morris, for example, we looked up to what they created and we were deeply inspired by what they did. And in fact, that turned out to be one of our best decisions because they continue to be great mentors in what we are trying to achieve. So from a capital perspective, yes, do look for capital. But I think what is equally more important or more important is the kind of mentorship that your investors are able to bring on the table. Same with ICICI as well. It's a brand that we look up to what they have been able to achieve in India. I mean, we are all well aware of after ICICI started, how they were able to build this entire, at this point, pretty much a massive part of the financial ecosystem. We looked up to that vision, and bringing on board someone like that allows us to keep ourselves grounded on, okay, there is a lot of distance to cover, but also lean on the right set of people, ask them questions which are important for our own growth, also take feedback. They are the ones who will be telling you that, okay, you are being stupid here, or this is actually a good decision that you're making. So basically just having that shoulder to lean on is equally or more important alongside the capital. That's how we look at it.
Oh, wonderful. I think so. The role of mentors is equally important. While, if you get capital and mentorship both at one place, go for it. Right? That's the takeaway. So, I think we have now 15 minutes left. So what I'll do is, maybe one round of quick, advice or to the entrepreneurs in the room, maybe, and then we'll open it up for questions, from the audience. So Gaurav, what would you kind of advise to our aspiring entrepreneurs?
Sure. So I think for the folks who are still in college, I would recommend, unless you are on a groundbreaking idea, which you believe will genuinely change the world, and I would say historically, yes, you know that you're smart. The world has acknowledged you're smart. You can definitely go for it. But for 99% of the cases, I would recommend that spend the first 2 years in a large company or a growing company, so that when you start a startup, you know where you have to go, right? So your destination is clear. The second thing I would say is that don't look at, and again, no offense, but don't look at fundraise as a milestone or as a, कि boss ये तो करना ही है. Let's say basically, I don't think Dhirubhai Ambani ever went to, like, you've not heard those stories, right? Or most of our, let's say an Ashirwad Pipes to, the larger guys, you've never heard rather their stories, कि okay, ये बंदे ने इतना fundraise किया, etc. It's a concept that got promulgated only in the last 15 years to fuel growth. So when you're out to raise money, you're doing it because you want to do what could have been done in 20 years in 5 years. So if you're okay with that, then only go out, because it does take a lot of strain on you. It takes time away from your core business. So focus on the business. Of course, you need capital, and depending upon the business model that you choose, you will need to pump in some money. First is you put in your own money. If you don't have, borrow some money. If you don't have that, beg for the money. And there's no shame in that. Again, one resounding thing, please be shameless. And when I say shameless, it doesn't mean that, okay, you become a nuisance value and stalk someone in the middle of the night. Have those moral boundaries, but be shameless, meaning that if someone has extended you an olive branch, or if you need someone's help, you just go talk. ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा क्या होगा यार? The person will say that okay, you are talking rubbish, get out. That person in all likelihood is not going to see you again for the next 10 years, right? Or vice versa. So it's okay to take that kind of a risk, and but till the time you don't take risk, you will never be someone, and that applies to almost in every facet of life. So yeah, those are my.
Fantastic. Yeah. Be seamless, be proactive, and kind of capital is not the only benchmark. Great. Yeah, Apurva, coming to you, what are some of the pointers you would like to leave with the entrepreneurs?
I'll actually reiterate that one point. The amount of fundraise a company has done is no indicator of success at all. It is purely an indicator of how many promises the founders have made. So, it's a measure of how much pressure the founders are under as opposed to how successful they are. Yes, it's obviously a token of appreciation that the industry has.
Large token.
Yes, a large token, absolutely. And it does help you success. It does allow you to move fast, but that is by no means an indicator of success. If you want to look at success, do look at the impact that the companies have made. So how many people's lives have they changed? What kind of societal impact has it made? Ultimately, what kind of value it created for the industry? So that's a quick one. But from a recommendation perspective, I think one thing I have seen a lot of young entrepreneurs do is that they get married to ideas. Yes, entrepreneurs are very passionate about their ideas, but it is not a marriage. Please do realize that. You don't have to keep working on the same idea. In fact, first thing I and Chitresh, when we met, we discussed is that, okay, if this idea does not work on, we'll move on to something else and build something else, right? It's extremely unlikely that the first idea that you pick ends up becoming a blockbuster, and it's more, it's also being humble about the entire process. It's almost like you are not clear, you're not omniscient to realize, okay, this is the perfect idea which will work out. You have to be humble. It's always a process. Do start somewhere. I would recommend, I think startup is the best way to find your true self. That should be the true reason to start up, is that it allows you to discover so much about yourself. You struggle day and night, and you will deal with scenarios you will never encounter in a large and comfortable setup, and it will allow you to realize your weaknesses, that, oh, I could not handle this situation, or when I got under pressure in this situation, I messed up. I have messed up a lot of client pitches. I have messed up a lot of investor pitches. A comic story, we were pitching to an investor based out of UK. Those guys are very passionate about their football. I went into that meeting and I was just I was a techie, right, through and through, and we don't tend to wear formals like I'm wearing right now. I've learned over a period of time, obviously. But I went into that meeting wearing a Brazil football jersey to a UK investor who is very, very passionate about their sport, right? So I have made mistakes. You have to be humble about the fact that, yes, you will make mistakes, and the best way to improve is to actually arrive at that conclusion that, yes, I'm bad at this, and improve it. But go through that process on your ideas itself. Please don't get married to the first idea you have. Be open, be humble, and keep working and keep iterating and improving the ideas that you have.
Wonderful. So to summarize, focus on value creation. Don't get married to ideas. Remain open for pivoting. And yeah, you will fail. Failures are part of life. Take it in your stride. Take it easy and keep on moving. Yeah. So wonderful. Gaurav and Apurva now. Great. Takeaways. At least for me. I've penned down some of those, and I'm sure for the audience as well. So what we'll do is we have 10 minutes. We'll keep it open for questions from the audience. We can have mics, please, in the audience so that. Sir, please. And can we give mic to the young boy, Jay Chaudhary? You can take this.
I also want to ask shamelessly one question.
Please, sir, go ahead.
I want to recruit them as our ISF volunteers.
They are already recruited, sir.
Absolute
They
honor.
have already
Absolute
done
honor.
that, sir.
Thanks a lot. That was my question. And I request all the budding entrepreneurs who want to start your startup companies, this is the opportunity to ask relevant questions. They are here to help you. Please go ahead. Are there any? Yeah.
Thank you so much for your time. I'm Jayasurya. I'm, in fact, here with my co-founder, Rohan. Both of us are started a company called Skillcraft. It's using AR, VR, we are developing skill development solutions, training solutions. So I think one question that sort of missed out here, I think, was competition, right? We are in a market, tech market, where everyone has access to tech, everyone has access to capital. In such an environment, ideas get copied in like no time, or billions of people get the same idea at the same time, right? So how did you go through that? There are people who say, hey, we have heard about this idea, or there's so many companies that are working on it, there are banks that are working on many fintech ideas, etc. So how did you navigate through competition? How did that go? I just want to know that.
So, see, competition is going to be there. Luckily for us, when we started, absolutely at the start, there was very minimal competition. Even when there was, right, I knew that, okay, the person who is going first will obviously win, but also delivering the maximum value. So, and I'm a more jugadu guy. So I used to ensure that I have the latest pitches, the latest proposals of all of my competitors every 6 months in my inbox. And I used to keep revising my pricing. कि okay, अगर X 5 रुपए में बेच रहा है, मैं 3.5 में बेचूंगा. So if let's say someone else is building something, I used to ensure that my product comes out first. And obviously one of the things was we kept innovating as well. We kept adding new features. So clients used to end up playing catch up with us. That someone used to call us, okay, do you have ABC service? And we should be like, yeah, 3 महीने से live है. These clients are also live. So much is cost. अब बताओ क्या करना है. So on that call itself, the clients should be like, oh my God, I've already late to this party, right? So create those kind of FOMOs. See, you need to invest in a very, when I say aggressive, doesn't necessarily mean, aggressive behavior, but aggressive mean hungry. A very hungry sales team who is extremely motivated, and not just monetarily motivated, they need to have a motivation level above that. So till such time that you understand your competition as much as you understand your own company, and your sales team is deeply motivated, you should be able to fare. And obviously keep innovating. That is something that is.
And I think the other important aspect is execution. I mean, see, we see so many players, right? They enter the same business. Electric car, is not something, most of the top car companies in the world didn't knew about. Is it a new idea, electric car? Tesla kind of built that electric car. It was not a new idea. Execution, execution, execution. I am willing to give you idea. I am willing to give you capital. Are you focused in execution? Are you able to execute it well? That's it, So what differentiates is not idea. Idea does, is important, but to my mind, more important is execution. That's how one should look at it. So the way to beat competition is give your strategy to all your competitors that this is what we are doing. We publish it on our websites. Sometimes, maybe you can go to ICICI Bank website. We have all strategies which are listed, what we are doing, what we are going to do. Everything is there on our website. We have believed that the way we will be able to execute, nobody will be able to execute. So I think beyond a point, one has to move away, from the fascination of having, I have this great idea. What idea is, if you don't take it to a logical conclusion and not execute it, what it will be, right? So stay focused on execution. Can you execute, far better than anyone else? I think you are on the game, you will win the game, right? That's how.
And I think, please do take care of one other thing. Absolutely, these are absolutely the perfect points. On top of that, I think it's also about the entire discussion here is about perseverance. What we have seen, in fact, that is such a pertinent question every time founders meet. And we were, in fact, immediately before this discussion, this was the thing we were discussing, how many times we got copied and what did the competitors do. We were just listing down our stories around it, right? And it will happen. It will happen 5, 8, 10 times. I think the only thing you will see is, at the end, we were the last people standing in that game. It gets very tiring, by the way. Every second month, you will have a new competitor popping up, trying out a new strategy, or something around that, right? But do realize that there are humans on the other side as well. They are not, they don't have a special capability that they are coming with. So what you're executing on, if you're tired, they are tired. And at the end, it is about keep continuing to stand and continuing on that journey. So yes, you'll get tired as well. It's a very tiresome process. I'm repeating that word because when you do face that, it's very easy to start giving up. But that's what will end up pretty much deciding the winner. Otherwise, whether you're the first mover, then you have the first mover advantage. If you are the second mover, you have the second mover advantage. There are ways to win from any position, and you will continue to explore that as smart founders. But I think the common element will be there. You can't get, I mean, even if you're tired, you can't give up.
Good one. Yeah, I'm an engineering leader like Purva. So again, a naive question because the other two in the panel are purely financial guys. So as an engineering leader, when do you go for a funding and how do you price yourselves? So why 100 million is the target that you have set for yourselves? So that's the key aspect.
Yeah, so, sorry, if I understood your question correctly, as an engineering leader, you're trying to understand how do you go about the entire funding process, right? It also depends on what ecosystem you're a part of. If you are in deep tech, for example, you could have purely a completely tech background and then also have a claim to success, and then you can actually work hard and achieve that. But if you're going into an ecosystem where sales is one of the biggest criteria for success, I would highly recommend having the right co-founder. Going at it alone, startups is gets crazy hard. Absolutely lonely. It's painful at that. And you need to have the right kind of team setup. In fact, again, from Refine's journey perspective, when we started Refine, we did not agree on the idea. We had an inkling of the idea that this is what we would work on, but the primary thing was to actually decide on the right co-founder. I and Chitresh could have worked on 15 different ideas. That was the most important part because we were looking for complementary skill sets. And that was the requirement that the industry had. We needed a bit of finance background, a bit of technology, a bit of, and a lot of sales, and a lot of being able to out there and raise funding. So I would highly recommend, please do invest time in finding the right co-founder. It's going to be probably one of the biggest reasons you will succeed.
Fantastic. We can have a last question, and then we'll kind of wrap it up.
Yeah.
Mic is not working or what? Yeah, please.
So just to repeat the question for everyone and to get it correctly, that number one, when and what is the role of corporate governance and compliance given what has been happening in the startup ecosystem recently? And second is that, especially from his perspective, because being a technical founder, how do you go about compliance and governance, because that's not your fundamental domain?
Yeah, I mean, basically, you did it because you were forced to, or did it start from day one?
No, I think, see, because both the primary co-founders in my case were chartered accountants, so automatically that's all that we knew, right? We were ensuring TDS was being filed and so on and so forth, a little more than what we should have. However, where it worked for us was when our acquisition conversation was happening, we got acquired in less than 60 days because my auditor is KPMG, so tick mark. Literally every TDS, there was no way that anyone could find any flaw, which is usually the reason why these processes get delayed. And that is true even for fundraising. There are certain remedial measures that you can do post facto, but it depends upon how the gravity of the situation. From a tech perspective.
Yes, so that is an acquired taste, absolutely, because as techies, the entire idea is to innovate as fast as we can, right? But it also comes from an intent perspective. There are two parts, compliance and governance. Governance comes from a more strong intent that you want to build something for the long term. How can you have bad governance in that? And that's something any founder who deeply cares about their company would be dead scared of getting wrong. So something to the point that, okay, the vendor payouts which are going, are they following the right protocols as well, right? Is there, if I am getting my friend involved, it doesn't seem like the right thing to do purely from a governance perspective, right? Is there any conflict of interest? Have I done the best thing that I have for my company rather than looking at my own personal interest? So that comes from a very strong intent perspective. Compliance grows with as you grow. For example, at ICICI level, you will probably have RBI having a small office in your right. In our case, it grew over a period of time. So when we started, obviously you have to meet the basic norms, and then we got our own NBFC, so we got regulated, so we have to meet those norms. And if we continue at our trajectory, at some point we'll be a mid-layer and a large NBFC, and at that point the norms will continue to change. So that will be as per RBI's requirement, and all those are for good reasons. But the governance is stronger intent rather than compliance.
And it's also about, what happens is that as a founder, you juggle with so many things, right? You want to build product, you want to build tech, you want to build team, and somewhere, compliance takes a back seat, right? Because that's not the priority. You are fundraising and so many things you're juggling, right, Aman? So I think the way we kind of, try to put it as a practice is that, hey, compliance is basic hygiene, right? It has to be from day one. It's not something that you'll figure out 2 years later, 3 years later, and as founder, let me first focus on my business. These things are not important. We'll figure out later. I think that approach doesn't work, right? It has to be as a part of the culture from the day one.
Small question. I'm asking this as a PhD scholar.
Done, yeah.
With regard to entrepreneur and VC
Can we take this offline if it's okay with you, because he has to catch a flight?
No problem.
Or you kind of, convince him to stay back and...
It depends on him. Let him decide that.
We'll take it offline, Thank you. And you guys have been a wonderful audience. So one clap for all of you, and all the entrepreneurs in the room, Once again, I want to thank, Jay, for putting us, such a fabulous...
I am behind you.
Sir.
Here. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. We are truly humbled, with the kind of efforts you are making and, for...
No, let me tell you, Hitesh, for startups point of view, in the entire ISF journey, this is the best session so far what we have witnessed.
Thank you, sir.
This is what is required for all our budding entrepreneurs or current entrepreneurs. I think what you people have done, great job. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Let me tell everybody, though I know Hitesh for the last so many years, he was helping me when I was setting up the FinTech Valley, Visakhapatnam, when I was the Special Chief Secretary in Government of Andhra Pradesh. I knew that he's having some role in ICICI Bank, helping some startups. Only to that extent I knew. Recently, we wanted to have a curtain raiser event in Bombay. All of you know that ISF, we don't have money. We are a poor foundation. I told Hitesh shamelessly again that Hitesh, we want to have a curtain raiser program in Bombay, but we don't have money. How do we do that? Sir, don't worry at all. You just come, everything I'll manage, and including flight tickets to us, accommodation, everything was managed, and all the key people, all the great CXOs and so many multi-billion dollar startups, they were all invited for the ISF curtain raiser. During that time, I actually saw the Viswarupam of Hitesh. See, he took me around his incubator. Then wherever I went and I was talking to those people, how did you land up here? No, sir, the kind of mentoring what we are getting, the guidance what we are getting, always Hitesh is available, hand-holding, what is the problem, where do we require? This kind of mentoring, hand-holding, I have not seen anywhere in the globe as far as the incubators and accelerators are concerned. No wonder I came to know that there are several unicorns in his, under his umbrella in ICIC incubator in Mumbai, and several unicorns, suricorns also in the pipeline, like people like what we have witnessed. That's when I requested Hitesh, this knowledge is required for a lot of startups. Why don't we have a fireside chat with some of your entrepreneurs? And readily agreed. I think, Hitesh, I am really thankful to you for helping ISF. And also I want to thank you for accepting my invitation to become ISF volunteers. You know the role of ISF volunteer, right? I am not going to leave you. Once you are connected, that Hitesh knows, right? Now, not only you have to help the startup companies, since you are already successful entrepreneurs, not only mentoring, maybe money also you have to give, and also find a market also for them. These 3 M's we keep telling: mentoring, money, and market. Those 3 M's you have to provide under his guidance, because Bombay market is very difficult for many startups, particularly all the banks are there, and I think a lot of FinTech companies, they struggle to get into that ecosystem. That's where we have to take advantage of what Hitesh has created there. Thank you so much, Hitesh, for...
Sir, truly humbled, sir, truly humbled. And, I think all inspiration, sir.
So, as a famous saying in Hyderabad goes, startup loga se pange nakyo lo, bagan mein mila denge. So, a very fun, energetic session, and you only see the flashy headlines in the news, but the struggle they had gone through and the effort, the blood, sweat, and tears they have put in, it's all an embodiment of a true story of resilience and a relentless pursuit in the startup space. So, thank you, gentlemen. Very wonderful session.
We have mementos. Mementos, sir, for a minute. Mementos. We are also using this opportunity to exchange MOU with ICICI Bank. This is how Jay Garu works. MOUs happen over a minute, over time. So, thank you ICICI Bank for your partnership with ISF. Looking forward.
Saurabh, come on. Saurabh.
We would also request Jay Garu to hand over mementos for fireside chat speakers.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. It's all under your leadership, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
I was happy to see this young boy, Nachiket. Originally, this MC part was supposed to be done by Vishala Garu. Mothers are always mothers. So what she has done is she has given this opportunity to her son, Nachiket, and then we are very happy to see how he is hosting. We are looking for many more young boys, young girls to come onto stage and then make this ISF successful. Congratulations, Vishala.
That is within 30 minutes of the training.
Now that we are done with the five-side chat, we are moving to the next session of Junicorns. Engineer became an entrepreneur, then she became everywhere. You speak about Yuvraj Foundation, you speak about Obama Foundation. Whatever it is, right? A multi-talented lady who currently mentoring multiple startups associated with T-Hub and many other organizations. Rumana Sinha Sehgal, very, very privileged to call her on dais. She's owning overall Junicorn vertical for ISF. Because she has almost 25 years of experience. So Rumana, please, this is your baby, Junicorns, and everybody is waiting for it. Please come on to dais.
Thank you, Jyoti. That was very, very kind of you. Namaskar, and a very good afternoon to everyone. Esteemed dignitaries, honorable guests, invitees, speakers, and of course, I see some lovely young Junicorns from the ISF. Can I have your hands up in the audience, please? Awesome. Can we have a round of applause? It's my august privilege to welcome you to this roundtable Junicorns. I shall open forum by inviting our Honorable Chair, Shri Ajit Rangnekar, Director General Rich, onto the dais, please. Sir, may we please have you? A round of applause, please. Welcome, sir. Thank you, volunteers. I would like to invite all the speakers. Shri Vamshi Tamanna, Head of IT, GRC and AI Governance, Legend Biotech. Sir, can we have you up in the dais? A warm welcome to you. Round of applause. Shri Anil Pradhan, Founder, CEO, Young Tinkers. Srimati K. Renuka Raju, CMD, EKSUK India, and Covida, Founder, Lotus Learning System Society. Ma'am, welcome. Round of applause for ma'am, please. Shri Shashi Gundala, Founder, Samavesha Education Services, Co-Founder, Technocomp. Shashi ma'am, may we have you on stage, please? Yes, thank you very much. A round of applause for the young, lovely ladies, and of course our chair and the panelists. Shri Ramakrishna Alingi Reddy, Board of Directors, Gaudium School. We welcome you, sir. Shri Mahankali Srinivas Rao, MSR Garu, CEO T-Hub. A round of applause. Shri Sheshank Reddy, Technology Entrepreneur. Shri Depu S. Nath, Managing Director, Fire India. And Shri Krishnakant Bari, President and CEO, WB Solutions, LLC. Thank you very much, esteemed panel. I shall now request our Honorable Chair to please open forum.
Hi. Sita.
may I invite Dr. Sita Murthy, Director Education, Silver Oaks of Groups of Institutions. My bad, ma'am, I miss seeing you.
Hi, good afternoon. And thank you, Jay, for volunteering me. And for all of these. So, we talk about it. It's interesting. This afternoon, this morning I was at Tile Talks. And one of the very senior people from Amazon was chatting with me. I said, you people are doing all these new things in AI, etc., etc. What's your problem? Our single biggest problem is, how do we ensure that the young people who are coming up are capable of understanding all of this? And I said, I'm going there in the afternoon and I'll ask that question too. So we'll find an answer for you. So, we have about an hour. And unlike the previous session where they didn't have, resources, I have a wealth of resources to start with. So what I'm going to do is to try and break this up into roughly 3 to 4 segments. I first want to start by asking ourselves, we are talking about Junicorns, but what is actually happening? Is anything happening? Is anybody doing anything about it? Then we'll go to the most important core part, which is the education, and how can we change the education, what are some of the things. But having youth, having education, is not enough. There's an enormous support ecosystem that is required, and we also have some excellent technology and capability talent here, so we'll use that. So that's how we'll start. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start with Vamsi, who has come all the way from the US, and ask him that as a parent, how do you get kids involved into making sure that they actually follow? At one time, all that kids did was, how do I get into Harvard, and therefore how do I do Bharatanatyam and things like that. What do we do now?
I'm just waiting for the video. There is one video.
Vishala, is somebody putting on the video?
Yes, yes, yeah.
Do you think you want to start with your story, and then when the video comes in, we'll clip the video in?
Sure. So basically, I thought of doing the other way around. You're able to play, or you want me to go ahead? Sure. Okay, so basically I thought of doing the other way around, but he's actually my son. Let me give a quick intro of him and then I'll talk. So back in 2019, I think 2018, he came to me and he said that he wants to start his own initiative and he wants to be a founder for his own initiative. I asked him I think he's like 9 years old at that time. So I asked him why did you ask me that question? So he saw my name as a founder for my own initiative and he asked me that question. So I told him that you are too young to actually think about all this and probably will revisit this idea when you are like 15, 16 or something. So he was persistent. He's continuously asking me the same question. He's pushing me. One day he came to me and he asked me what are you doing with your used batteries? Used batteries, we all get used batteries, right? So I told him that I'm just throwing in the trash. He showed me an article where in California, there was one lithium-ion battery caused a big damage and the whole recycling plant got burnt. So he showed me that one battery is causing this big issue and since you are throwing your used batteries in the trash, it is not good actually. So I told him that very good initiative that you are actually thinking. So before even doing that, I asked him to actually talk to few of his friends, and I also took about 20 different friends of mine. So he spoke to all of them. Everyone said that they are not doing anything. So I ended up saying that you can go ahead and you can start, and now tell me what you want me, where do you want me to help? So he said that I want a quick flyer where he can actually go and educate people. He started that way, and for the past 5 years, he now have a team of 850 kids in US. All these kids are actually spreading awareness in their local schools, collecting the batteries. And over the past 5 years, they have recycled over 550,000, which is 5.5 lakhs used batteries. And they have educated over 38 million people about the importance of used batteries. So it became a big initiative, and now it is still not playing, baby. That's okay. So, and then the other kid, I have my younger one as well. By seeing him, she was like 9 years old. Last year, end of last year, she came to me and said that, Dad, you are only helping Nihal, but you are not doing anything to me. So I said, I'll definitely help you. Why would I not help you? But you tell me, what do you want to do? So she said that, okay, let me think and let me come back to you. And within 2 days, she came to me and she asked another question. She said that whenever you are going for a shower, do you immediately start taking shower, or are you waiting for 1 to 2 minutes for the hot water to come? So I told, definitely I'll wait for 1 to 2 minutes for the hot water to come, because I don't want to, especially in US, every single person will actually wait for that hot water, 1 to 2 minutes. So she said that, she showed me the stats, that there are millions and millions of people in the world who don't have access to water, and we are actually wasting that 20,000 gallons of water just for nothing, just for waiting for hot water. I immediately got connected again. So I said, okay, what is the solution? So basically she said that probably we have to have an instant water heater in the shower where the water will actually become instantly hot. I initially liked the idea, and we have actually asked a few of the companies here in India to actually develop a prototype. They came up with the prototype as well. But then again, I was hesitant, because obviously you are linking electricity with water. So I was a little hesitant, and I said that probably this will not work out. And then I actually helped her research more, and we found a thing called recirculation pump. So what that recirculation pump do is, it will actually extract the hot, the cold water when the water in the hot pipe. There are two types of pipes in your house: hot water pipe and cold water pipe. So when the water in the hot water pipe becomes cold, it will actually extract the water. So I told her that this is definitely something doable, and we searched for the cost. So it is costing about $250, that's it. And when you are spending $1 million and $2 million for a house in US, $250 is nothing. Including installation, probably it will cost $500. So now she has a team of 40 kids within a span of 9 months. And then she created a petition asking the government to make recirculation pumps mandatory across all the households. Because like you are getting tax credits when you are buying electric vehicles, and also like you are getting tax credits when you are installing solar panels, she's requesting the government to give the tax credit when someone installs a recirculation pump. There are, I think, Grundfos, which is the world's largest pump manufacturing company, they came forward to support her. So I'm just giving you the context, and then now I'll tell you as a parent what I did to actually make them successful for the past, both the kids. Yeah, next. Go to the slides.
I promise everyone that I didn't tell them to stop the slides. Go on. I think
go to the slides. Next one.
You know, Vamsi, you are actually touching the hearts with your straight talk. So guys, go ahead.
There are few points which I want to highlight basically. So I don't know, maybe some issue with the slide. So basically, what the points that I thought of telling is, as a parent, what I normally do is, I ask the kids to actually go out and actually observe. You have to observe, and you have to come back to me that there is a problem in your school, there is a problem in your house, there is a problem in the world, or something like that. But at the same time, I'll also tell them that they have to come up with a solution, because everyone can come up with problems. So I'll always tell both of them to actually observe outside, come up with the problems, and then come up with the solutions as well. That way, I'll actually help you out in case if that solution is workable, or if you need to do anything, and all that kind of a thing. So all I'm trying to say today is, make sure that the kids are actually going out there and watching, and then whenever someone says something to you, when your kid says, irrespective of the age, that is exactly why the point I heard from one of the public motivational speakers is, irrespective of the age, if your kid wants to do something, try to encourage them rather than discouraging them. I initially discouraged, but later on I realized, and then I started encouraging them, and now I see the the achievements that they have actually done as well. So basically, this is what I am telling. You have to ask the kids to actually come up with the problems. And like I said, both Nihal and Nitya have observed the problems out there, and then they came up with the solutions as well. Next. So, and then the second thing is, provide them access to resources and knowledge. Like basically, you have to connect, show them good books, give them good mentorship, show them good network. Like last time when I was in Hyderabad, Nihal came to Jay Garu, and he is the one who actually encouraged him a lot, and he is the one who asked me to come and participate in this panel as well. So that, I'm telling you, the reason why I'm saying this is, all the young kids have to participate in such kind of a network and such kind of an event. Even though they don't do anything, they'll learn so much. Next. Yeah, so again, like I said, I already mentioned this, you have to support their idea and you have to give them the lead. Go next.
Thank you.
Are you done? No. Yeah, so they will face the failure. Basically, irrespective of whether they were successful or failure, let them encourage, let them learn from it. Yeah, I think that is all I want to cover today. Thank you so much once again for the opportunity.
Thank you. Thank you, Vamsi. So, very often we look outside. We look outside of ourselves and say somebody else must do, government must do, JA must start ISF, etc., etc. But each one of us has a responsibility, and I think that is where the point where I wanted to start, that if we want the next generation to be the kind of people we want them to be, each one of us is responsible for making it. So now that's fine, you live in the US, all of us come from fairly good backgrounds and therefore have access. What about children who don't have that access? So even there are people like Anil who do some amazing work. There is another, okay, why don't you, Anil, I'll let you take over and tell us what work you are doing.
Thank you so much, sir, and namaste, everyone. So let me break the ice. So for me, ICE is intent, content, and environment. So let me take you through this journey of young tinker. And we have these very good formulas for everything, which we teach to students and also to our team. So ICE is basically intent. If we want our students to be entrepreneurs, is that the intent of our schools? Is that the intent of our parents? And fundamentally, what is education and why is education? What we have made in education is basically mere literacy rather than education. If you are a PhD or anything like that, you are literate, yes, but are you educated is the question. When I talk about intent, I talk about creating the mindset in students. Do our students have the right mindset? Intent is also focused on how do we do that? How do we create that intent? If students can believe, then they can do it. So creating role models is very important. When we see in villages, a lot of people told कि यार role model Anil बनाओगे कैसे? And I always focus on unthinkable. भाई क्यों नहीं बना सकते हैं? When we talk about city kids, we talk about entrepreneurship. When we talk about village, we talk about livelihoods. ये भेदभाव क्यों? Why they can't be entrepreneurs? Why only livelihoods? So when I started in 2015, I started from an island village in Odisha. And basically, when I was a kid, I have to go to Bhopal. My father was in CRPF. I got good education. But when I came back to my village, I saw these kind of challenges there. And at that moment, I told, यार कुछ तो करना है यहाँ पे. When I was in college, we made Asia's first student rocket. 3 बार fail हो गए. Nobody wanted to invest. Nobody wanted to give funds. I went to the VC, told we want to make a rocket. He asked, हमारे college में we don't have aeronautical branch. From which branch you are? Are you from mechanical, electrical, electronics, सारे guesses हो गए. Can you tell me my branch? Civil. And he started laughing like anything. I told Kiar, engineering is mere common sense and why can't we do it? 3 failure launches, went to everyone, just like these shameless guys, went to everyone, emailed to a lot of LinkedIn people, भाई NASA से है हो, ISRO से है, who wants to help us? वो बोला कि आपके पास तो लैब नहीं है, क्या है? We went to a garage, we built it there. 3 failures के बाद fourth one was a success. We finally launched it. Limca Book of World Record में we got the name. So when people told me कि you are not from IIT, you are not from NIT, तो मैंने बोला कि यार किसी कॉलेज से तो हैं, गवर्नमेंट कॉलेज से हैं उड़ीसा के, कर तो सकते हैं यार, कुछ तो हैं. And at that point of time, then I believe कि यार if we can't do it, if we can do it, then why can't students in these villages can do it? Went to my village with a tin shed, some scholarship, started with 3 students and build over it. Eventually what happened in 2021, we told ki, why can't students, ऐसा क्या Olympics में, we have for sports, we have Olympics. For students, those who can build something, जो innovation में, उनके लिए वैसा क्या है? सबसे बड़ा चीज़ क्या है? We told कि NASA does something which is known as NASA Rover Challenge, where they build this rover. और India में से under 19 team में there is no representation there. Can we build a rover? This was the second unthinkable. Then people laughed. अरे यार तुम गांव के बच्चों को लेके जाओगे, कहाँ से जाएंगे? They can't do it. क्यों नहीं कर सकते? Selected 10 students. One of them is Rishi. Rishi is here. Rishi, can you just raise your hand? जो बच्चा वहाँ पे मड हाउस में रहता था, वो भी गया है वहाँ पे. They were a part of that team. That was unthinkable because at that point of time, हमारे पास भी laboratories. We don't have laboratories. We got some funding. We got machines from Finland. वहाँ पे setup किया. Within 1 year, these students went through the CAD designing, ideation, prototype किया, build the rover, took it to NASA. आप यकीन नहीं करेंगे, हम सिर्फ participate नहीं करने गए थे वहाँ पे. जीत के आए हैं. World rank 3. So, the thing that I was talking about intent, ये role models create हो गए. Now, if you go to these villages, the students are like, वो तो कर रहा था, मैं तो उसके घर पे गया था, वो भी तो मड हाउस में रहता है, वो तो मेरे जैसे झोपड़ी पट्टी में रहता है, तो मैं क्यों नहीं कर सकता? That is where we started. Second, जब मैं बात करता हूँ content का, content में first thing is, if you have read the stories, our stories are very biased. Once there lived a poor farmer in a village. What is the meaning of that? If you are poor, you are a farmer. And if you are a farmer, you are poor and you are in a village, और तो village में रहोगे मतलब poor हो और farmer हो आप. तो US वाला जो farmer है, वो कहाँ रहता है भाई? And that narration is something we have to change. To change the narration is very important in our books. नहीं तो everyone in the village will go out. That's in the mindset. No one will stay. Everyone will go to US. In content, we need to have the relatable content. A lot of people told me that science is very costly. Science is not very costly. With the right intent, we can create the right content. We have a vehicle here. I invite you to come there and see with just ₹1, what kind of experiment you can teach to students. ₹1 ka product, you can give it to everyone. How do we provide the right content to student? And third one is environment. ICE, I was talking about breaking the ice. IC ho gaya, this is E, environment. The environment mein sabse pehla cheez is, when you go to schools, I've seen schools everywhere in India, government schools if you go, there are students, those who sit in verandas. We don't have the right infrastructure. Jab tak infrastructure acha nahi hoga, they don't feel good, they won't do good. We need to create that infrastructure. In India, 95% of the school don't have STEM labs. 95%. 129 million students don't have the access to STEM labs. And then we talk about entrepreneurship. Sapna kahan dekhega wo? What they see, they do. And what they do, they become. तो ये 129 million बच्चों के पास पहुंचेंगे कैसे? We have created a vehicle which is known as TOW, Tinker on Wheels. So what it does is, instead of having a lab in one school, this lab goes to every school. It's a 250 rupees model. For teaching every student, we just have to invest around 250 rupees. And each vehicle can impact around 10,000 students every year. And I'm always bold in what I speak. Next, by 2026, my aim is to impact 1 million students, that is 10 lakh students. If 1% student become innovators, that is 10,000 students. Or 0.1%, matlab, 1,000 bade innovators in next 10 years would be from Young Tinker Foundation. That is what I dream of. And I would like to thank Jay Chaudhary sir. Jay sir he called me 5 days before, told Anil, wo jo event was in Andhra Pradesh, that we want to do it here. Can you bring the TOW vehicle to us? So I was like, acha theek hai, we'll bring from Bhubaneswar, what do we do? That night I thought I'll go to Hyderabad. Next morning, sir, we bought a vehicle. 4 days I was here. In 4 days, I बोला कि यार ये तो नया unthinkable है. That's a challenge. We have to do it. We partnered with ISF, build that vehicle here. The vehicle is live now here. So thank you so much, everyone. So जो ICE का जो pedagogy मैंने बोला, we have created very good content where we have this conceptual learning of science, conceptual learning of STEM. Then there is a tinker phase, maker phase, innovator phase, and an entrepreneur phase. So Junicorns, there are a lot of students there, also from Young Tinker Foundation. Would love if you can go there and talk to students. We have 2 centers in Hyderabad. One is in Touch Orphanage in Mehboob Nagar, where students have built their startup. We basically fund them with a seed grant of 1,000 rupees. And we ask them to build a business around it. You can go and see their products. Today, someone gave them the currency of Kuwait, brought bags, so they were showing me, sir, maine aaj itna kama liya hai. So, businesses jo hai, if you want to make them entrepreneur, don't teach them entrepreneurship. Ask them to build businesses. If you want to teach them problem solving, give them a problem. They will find out a solution for it. Rishi was here. I invited him because he created AI solution to predict pest attack. It actually happens. So he was from Jagatsinghpur district in Bhubaneswar, in Odisha, and he saw pest attack in his village, and because of which he saw suicides. So his problem statement was, isko solve karna hai. He created AI solution which predicts 10 days before it actually happens. He was invited by the Intel CEO Pat Gelsinger, went there, got funded for his startup. And he was like, sir, US chala gaya main. So what I'm trying to say is, 2017 में भी मैं ये चीज़ आपको बोल रहा था, आप बोलते पागल है. आज भी आप बोल सकते हैं मैं पागल हूँ. But yes, I was able to build more pagals like me. Thank you so much, everyone.
Phenomenal. So, so this is where we wanted to start, that we are not talking theory. We are talking of what is actually happening on the ground. You read the newspapers, you get depressed with the negativity. When you meet real people, that's when you know the enormous power of optimism in our youth today. So what I'm going to do now is to shift from there to how do we make that happen in our entire education system. I'll start with you, Renuji, then go to you, Shashiji, and then to my good friend Sita. So three of you will essentially focus on education and what we need to do.
Good evening. I have done considerable work in terms of policy. And it's a very dry subject, especially education policy is not a child's play, and it has been a long journey for me. with this NEP, that what we have today, it's 2017 onwards, we started engaging with the policy panel, right from Smriti Irani time. We've done something very unique. And today we are looking at a product called Reading Comprehension Assessment. I'm sure all of you are familiar reading in the newspapers. 10th class child cannot read third class text. This is something, it was something that I thought we should be able to solve it. The way I looked at it is, if we start early, that is a right start to school, and move it up. And moving up in the process is, our work first started with Anganwadis. There was the seed for how can we teach 2 languages. In fact, we taught only 1 language, and I observed the children were doing 2 languages. So that today's product that we're going to be, when we are launching, I see English, Telugu, Hindi, we teach are equal, on an equal footing. So that is the kind of a goal that we have, and also work towards 100% literacy in this country. That is one major initiative that we have undertaken. The other one is structured assessment for learning has come. From next year onwards, government is very keen on ensuring that 5th class and 8th class students meet certain targets. So therefore, we don't have to listen to problems earlier saying that, 3rd class competency is not there in the 10th class. Now, having this 3rd, 5th, 8th, we have never done this before. The school heads, we are not used to engaging at such young age. Above all this, there is another kicker the government threw, saying that we want each child to perform 60 words per minute with understanding. And we have worked and showed our work way back when Anita Kaul was in the seat. And at that time, they have adopted, Government of India has adopted certain inputs from both Norway and Singapore. Our children start school at 6. That's when I have written to her saying that what standard that you have applied doesn't apply in India because you'll have litigation. Because the child should be 9+ to have the literacy standard the Government of India has developed. But for the first time in this country's history, something good and positive is happening. We have a good policy, and there's a lot of scope for work around here. Can you shift the slides, please? See, the 3rd class, 5th class, 8th class, when we start implementing that, you will see a crop of students who are far more competent. And this competency will take India forward towards totally developed India. See, this is a long-term goal for the country. So you can't achieve certain things overnight. And 100% literacy in the country should be made possible. Not necessarily teach English, but also teach Telugu and Hindi with an equal rigor and relevance. Because both the languages have, makes the child more resilient. Okay, next slide, please. And there's one thing that I advocate strongly is using unseen text to teach and assess reading. Seen text is absolutely falto, and I speak against it. You know, this is something that is not a reading assessment and reporting, that you have shortchanged the child. You have to put unseen text, and the child should navigate it and produce the result. Then we can actually support the child to go to the level of perfection and proficiency the child can achieve. Last 3 years, we have seen the scores, especially in 9 and 10, 11 and 12, have fallen down, especially in science and maths. This is because case-based questions were introduced, and reasoning assertion questions are introduced. Now, I relate very much to what the parent perspective and the young thinker's perspective, because these case-based questions and reasoning assertion questions are very new in the system. So therefore, teachers don't know how to teach, students don't know how to really answer these kind of questions. And this is a major challenge in the school systems in the CBSE, and I'm sure this is similar. State boards have not come this far on case-based questions and reasoning assertion questions, sir. And as long as we don't teach kids these kind of things, it will be difficult. The next slide.
Madam, actually we have another program where the awards program is there, and we need to cut short
Yes.
the discussion. I request all the panelists to restrict your discussion around how do we make kids to think like an entrepreneur, act like an entrepreneur, and become an entrepreneur. Let's not get into any educational reforms. That's a much bigger subject. So this is Junicorns is only about the entrepreneurship, because we have the other all the chief guests and other people are likely to come. So I request all of you to restrict to that area, not to the educational reforms, NEP and all that, because that's not the intended subject for this panel. Thank you.
Basically, there are a lot of products that are being built, and now we need a lot of products that are aligned to implementation to improve quality and efficiency. And this, the context of investments flowing in to just about anything will not work anymore, because the enabling policy is pinpointing how to improve quality and report rather than frivolous expenditure in terms of both time, effort, and budget and resources of all stakeholders, sir. So this is where the kicker is. The kicker lies in coming up with absolutely precision-driven products to deliver right kind of inputs to young people and the stakeholders of education.
Hello, everyone. So what I want to say actually kind of piggybacks on what Anil said and what Vamsi said. So my background is education, and from US and India. So I've been working now in India. And currently I'm working on creating curriculum. So I'm into content, and I'm working on creating curriculum for grades K to 10 in AI, ML, nanotechnology, genetic engineering, coding, robotics, biomimicry, programming, all of these things that are coming up now, and everybody wants to know about it. So when I was asked to do that, my first question to myself philosophically was, what do kids actually need? do they need this, and at what age do they need this, and how should they be learning this? So I've been like trying to create a curriculum where it is more student run, where I'm empowering the student to actually run the curriculum by themselves, and the teacher is being a facilitator who will help the students. But before that, as I was writing that, I realized there's something that is far more important than that, which is life skills. I want to make sure that the students can dream. Can they be given that motivation and that power to think that, yes, I can do this. I can be, one of these startup people who made and sold a 100 million company. Can I do that? I want them to have that power, to have that dream. So for that, I feel like they need to have that life skills training to be able to think, to be able to critical solve, to be able to problem solve. When we talked about going out and learning, I was thinking about biomimicry. Can we learn from nature? Can we go out and see what problems are there and what can be solved from that? So that is what I have been trying to create. That's the curriculum that I am interested in creating, and that's currently what I'm working on. So creating this life skills curriculum as well as the STEAM journey, we're calling it the STEAM, go hand in hand with each other. Let's give the kids all the tools to be able to use the STEAM journey. So that is like my bridge to both, and which I feel like the juniors and what I could bring to Junicorn, that I think is the most important, like having this bridge in the classrooms. So.
Thank you.
Okay, so I think I'll take you back to a little history of entrepreneurial education in India. This I was reading while I was reading a research journal by a professor from University of Newcastle. He wrote a book called The Beautiful Tree. Beautiful trees are schools that existed in every village before colonialism happened to India. And every school, every village appointed the wise man of the village as a headmaster, and all the elders of the village would get together and decide what should the children learn in our schools. Okay? The curriculum should be to promote the environment, the ecology, the culture, the social structure, and the economy. So the curriculum had a direct relation to what the students were learning in the schools back then. But when colonialism happened, all of us know the story. After that, schools were hijacked for a different purpose altogether. And we still carry that burden, by the way. Even in 2024, we carry that white man's burden on our shoulders of industrialized models of education. So what is it that I am doing? I have to tell you, like how this young person inspired me by his example of ice. I would also like to say intention specificity, intention implementation. So I always look at what is my circle of influence, what is my circle of concern. I know education system, I can't change it. I'm not at a policy level. But there is something that I can change within the influence that I operate in, within my schools, with all the 8,000 students that I have. So what I looked at is, can I revamp the curriculum where the children learn how to be value-oriented? Can the children learn how to promote the sustainability, whether they're learning in science or the social studies? For me, social studies are all about sacred geography because for ages now we have learned geography as a consumer. The consumerist approach to learning anything like you have copper there, your iron there, dig it and use it, that's a consumerist approach. So can we reverse the thing and make it a sacred narrative that these are the resources we have? Can we make something out of these resources while focusing on the sustainability? So when I say, what can schools do to build an entrepreneurial environment? To be honest, from the time I came here, I only see an ecosystem of inspiration. But you go into any school, this is not what you'll find. There's an ecosystem of examination there. And there is an ecosystem of burden there. Okay? How do you change the narrative? changing the narrative is, I have to say this, until T-Hub and T-Work started in our city here, I used to always take the example of the Prime Minister of Singapore calls for a meeting every 2 to 3 years with school principals and university heads to tell them what is it that we are bringing into the country in the next 5 years, what courses can you customize so that the people who come out of the universities are ready for the changed scenario. And I used to wonder, when Telangana was born, I wrote a letter to the Chief Minister, by the way. Of course, people like us never get heard, so that was also not heard. But still, when T-Hub came, I thought, wow, the mountain has come to the Mohammed now. When T-Works came, the mountain has come to the Mohammed now. So we are able to give exposure to our students that beyond the templates of JEE and NEET, there is a life out there. There's a promise out there that young people who sat here and through the fireside chat gave me a promise that I probably have to work on a curriculum that teaches children perseverance, okay? Teaches children resilience, teaches children that even if you fail, you will be able to rise like a phoenix, like how they said, be shameless, go pursue. You will fail, but you still have to come up with a better idea. I think I need to add that also into the curriculum. Only then the narrative will change in our country. Only then there is a promise that I can show to my young people, because I work with different generation. It's a K-12 school. One thing I have to say, and I'll conclude on that, 2 of my students are sitting here. One of them is actually showcasing something here. She's working with an entrepreneurial, Tanisha, wave your hand. Okay, and one of them is a volunteer here. 10 of them are presenting their innovative ideas in the Junicorns, thanks to Rumana, who's been mentoring them. But I think the time has come for everybody to talk more about startups, entrepreneurial ventures, so that we groom contributors to the society, not just consumers. And I'd like to end with that.
Thank you. In some ways, what you're also demonstrating is that educators themselves have become entrepreneurs. And coming out, within the system, we can either be bureaucrats and say, my hands are tied, or we can be entrepreneurs within that system and say, what more can I do? So thank you very much. Now we have 4 people, all 4, what I would call as ecosystem builders. And Ramakrishna has already built one in Gaudium School. MSR, of course, has been the key driver in T-Hub, so we'll ask him all these things. But I'll let 4 of you talk about things outside the curriculum. What is it needed to support the curriculum? In the earlier session, we talked about money, mentors, etc. So what are those things, and how can we make those available across, for the moment, if we talk across the state, and then we can take it. If I can also, Jay, just add a little bit, wearing my TSIC hat. We as a state have now got approval and funding, most important, to start with, 1 school in at least each assembly district. So 119 schools and 200 colleges working with Y-Hub, TSIC, T-Works, etc., to actually set up capability. But all of that is fine as infrastructure. In India, we tend to focus on infrastructure. What I want is, what is the intellectual infrastructure that is going to be required to support it? So over to 4 of you.
Thank you, sir. Good evening. I'm actually sitting in the middle because 25 years of my experience has been on IT side, and now on my entrepreneurial journey. And one of the venture is the school. I've joined a school which has been already established. For last 3.5 years, I've been speaking to a lot of my colleagues. And the first question that comes to me is, we don't understand this Gen Z. I heard this actually 10 years back when our organization wanted to train us, how do we actually manage Gen Z at workplace? Now this question is coming in from potential parents asking me, how do we kind of control the Gen Z because you've been managing a school with 4,000 students, I'm sure you have a lot of strategies to do that, which is coming in from the parents, predominantly from the IT background or from services industry. And majority of them have been complaining about their, I would say, addiction to these digital devices or the smart devices. And we've been trained, probably, I have two young daughters, so we've been trained in earlier days in our career that how do we do the parenting, both to mom and dad. And nowadays, I don't think schools are actually doing that. Probably parents may not be interested as well. But I'm bringing this because it's again the social fabric that we have in India, wherein we always been saying that we are moving away from these combined families to the nucleus families and so on and so forth. Why am I bringing this is both, I think, Vamshi as well as Anil touched upon the innovation or about how do we stimulate these young minds is they actually learn by seeing. And when we do this, we look at all these software engineers, because I'm from that industry. I see all the parents all the while working on some laptop, and none of this is seen by the students. And again, they come and complain that, oh, I don't think, I can manage my children because they don't connect with me. Because what they are doing is not seen by them. If you take in earlier days, if someone is being a kind of a painter or whatever, skill that you take, or even a doctor, people used to see that, oh, my dad is actually checking the patient. He's asking these questions. In a while, the student just like that picks up and will gain that knowledge. Where is this environment that is available now for the children to see and do it? I would say it's an opportunity now in the era of AI, wherein students can do a lot of independent research. Only that's required is just guiding them in the right path, how to kind of get into it. And the second thing that comes is, this is about the role model. People talked about it. But what is the solution for that is to kind of help the students to identify their interests and identify opportunities where they would be able to go and see those role models, what they would be doing. And the question that comes is entrepreneurs. It's all about bringing the entrepreneurship and ask the students to open up their questions. I'm not trying to talk about what we are trying to do, but we have done this, a series of discussions or the guest lectures, only bringing the entrepreneurship. Believe me, we have one of the professors from IIT Mumbai. After we've been doing this, he heard about it and he came in because he's been trying to kind of help us through his PhD students to mentor some of the ideas the students are coming up with. So the quality of questions these people have been asking, or these students have been asking to these entrepreneurs, is unbelievable. Some of them have said that actually these ideas did not stuck to us. And the response from these young students is, that's the power of Gen Z. If you understand them well, and if you use their power, and if they use their intelligence and knowledge, anything can be possible. I just want to end to say that I've seen the industry, and then I've been on college board where we were trying to make those students employable. And where the students are coming from to these engineering colleges, they're coming from schools. So we thought we would actually take a step back and see what type of environment is required, or what type of skills that we need to kind of instill. They may not be something which is, these skills are very important to think independently. And as ma'am said, perseverance. There are a lot of life skills that gets kind of, that can be kind of fostered at the school level. Those are the things that we are trying to look at, which would actually help students to think more towards the entrepreneurship. Thank you.
What would you like me to talk about? I think we have
built an enormous support ecosystem. We all know that having ideas is only the beginning. Getting them to maybe TRL level 3, 4, at least proof of concept, it's what is it. But how do you really take them scale up? And what is really required for this to happen, not to 10 or 100, but to thousands? And I think to some extent, T-Hub was our attempt to do that. So if we now expand that and say, let's also include school children, what is it that we'll require?
Sure. So I'll first build on some points which I think Vamshi made and Anil made and all that. So I think, so fundamentally, right, maybe just to also add what Sita Garu said. So fundamentally, I think, education should first instill in young people curiosity, critical thinking, creative thinking, collaboration and communication, right? So I'm going to start with a story about what we are doing, for example, in colleges. So we've started a program called Kickstart, currently running it at about 8 colleges. So what's happened now, I think ma'am referred to the NEP, right? And I think we have, I think, a large number of colleges here. So many of them, to improve their rankings and not necessarily from any particularly altruistic consideration, have set up entrepreneurship development cells, incubation cells, with little or no idea about what can be done, right? So we started a program, we are currently running it at about 7 or 8 colleges, where what we are doing is, typically what we did some, obviously some background research, etc. We said the time when you can work with students, particularly those in engineering, is between the second year first semester to the third year first, sometimes the third year second semester, right? Because first year for many of them is a whole new shift, moving from a college, from a school environment to college. And then of course the last year is either figuring out whether to go to the US or whatever, or get into a job, right? So this is the window we have. So what we've done is built something where we focus on trying to see if we can instill a entrepreneurial mindset. So it starts with an assessment, then we run some challenges, right? And we ask them to come up with some ideas. We also ask them to look at the environment around them and see if there are problems that can be solved, sort of thing. The proof point for us, end of it, is if at least 10 of them, typically in every college, come up with some kind of a viable prototype, sort of thing, and then that becomes a feeder to our bigger programs. Now, some things are good, but some things sometimes alarm me. So one question which I ask when I go to any of these colleges to kick off this, I ask them, for example, what are the UN SDG goals? Okay, and I kid you not, forget the 17 goals, and I'm not even asking for a number. Hard pressed to find more than 2 or 3 of them being able to answer what the SDG goals are, right? So sometimes it causes me to despair. What are we teaching these kids? I mean, I know obviously in IB schools, I'm sure it's different, but I'm talking of colleges here, and so that's one challenge. Now coming back, what I think needs to be done from a school level, I think is, and I have seen, I was also involved with a program run by an entity called Udayam. This is in Delhi, not for profit. Very successful program run there, and where essentially they worked in about 750 government schools. What they did is they roped in a bunch of entrepreneurs from the local ecosystem who used to go and talk to children. And they were also able to mobilize some capital, similar to, I think, the example which I think Anil gave, where each of the students was given about 1,000 rupees, right? And then they said, go out and build something, right? And the sense of, joy, achievement, purpose, when that 1,000 becomes whatever it becomes, right, is astonishing, right? So I think what we need to do, in my view, and we are now trying to see how we can do this at the college level. We haven't yet gone down into the school level, is to figure out how we can create, throw challenges at young students to look at the environment around them and figure out how they can solve. And obviously, it requires the entire ecosystem to come together. One last point I wanted to make, maybe some people in the audience may not be familiar with this, is all of us know about this 2% CSR, the 2% which you can spend of profits you can spend on CSR. A lot of that effort has been directed towards education, healthcare, and so on. But about 18 months ago, there was an amendment in the Companies Act where this funding can actually be used for technical incubation. Right? So to answer that point you made about STEM labs, etc. And that's something which we are actively pushing. So currently, for example, with 2 large corporates, we are now running a program using their CSR to run these incubation programs in colleges.
Thank you. So before I go to the last two, Shashank and Deepu, I just wanted to, something that I was itching, but I chose not to be. By the way, in way back in 2012, when, if you recollect, there was criticism that we are not producing engineers who are good for the industry, we started, from ISB, we had created a technology entrepreneurship program. And many of those, and this thing, Kaundinya of this thing is a product of that thing. So I think, at the college level, we have this thing, how do we take it? And I think it was you said.
So for example, one of our startups, a company called Metamorphosis, which was subsequently acquired by Bright Champs, they were actually trying to see how they could do this in schools. But of course, the target audience for them was obviously the more affluent schools. But
Yeah, they are. So, the thing is, the reason I was bringing it up is that I think even at college level, there is a philosophical question that, and I didn't want to bring it up because we could only end up discussing. What are we trying to create? Are we trying to create unicorns, or are we trying to change mindsets of young people so that going forward they will be able to, because expecting school children to be able to create unicorns is probably not a right approach. What we are saying is you need an ability to think, you need an ability to identify problem, you need an ability to understand how to solve it, you need to know how to go about it. So I think we should also be reasonable in our expectations. All of us, or many of us here know Mirage. And what Mirage created in the old city of all places, working with 200 colleges and a large number of entrepreneurs from women in the minority community is an incredible thing. So we have something in the college and that career. The challenge for us, of course, is how do we take it. So what do you think?
So, so I just want to add 2 points. One is regarding the infrastructure part, and the second one is what the students have to do, like as a key takeaway from this discussion. Okay. So infrastructure part, like we are spending a lot in building up buildings and a lot of spending on equipments and all those things. But what is missing here is human infrastructure. That is a volunteer-driven network that we have for ISF, for entrepreneurs. Similarly, we should have it for skilling, because we are living in a world which unprecedentedly change is happening, and next 2 years, what these students are going to get exposed to has not been invented yet. And they will be working on problems that are not problems today. Okay. So what we have to prepare them is for that future, not the world that we have seen. Okay. And the potential that the students have is immense. Only thing that we have to do is to give them some time to prepare and have a mindset to work on solving the problems that they have seen, and have a right network to access. Like as he rightly said, they have to find the right interest group, whichever they belong to, and learn how to learn new things by themselves. And it is not a world of memory. We need more GPUs, more processing power. So our education system has built long before when that memory was so important. Okay. And the assembly line model was created for factories or industry to build clerks or somebody who takes a job and retire in that job. The the shelf life of skills is shrinking, right? So what they have to learn is to learn anything by themselves and through peers and have them access to a human network from their alumni network, from their peers, that is accessible for them to learn anything. And second one, we should help them learn how to fail, how to make mistakes. Because we had lived in a world where mistake was very hard to create because it is very hard to solve. For example, we write with fountain pen, we use in a typewriter, we cannot delete it. But as of now, in the digital world, everything can be done. We click photographs, and it is very hard to have a wrong photograph, but right now, digital, they can just delete, edit, or anything that. So we have to understand the world that they belong to. And we have to prepare them for the future, and that nothing can be bundled in a syllabus and made it available in an assembly line model. Humans flourishes organically, right? Not a mechanical model. So we have to think like a farmer. The farmer work on the field, right? Have the environment there, have all the nutrients available there. Any seed that we put in, it will flourish organically. So that is something that we need to understand, and whatever system that we have in place, just ensure that in the ecosystem, a lot of people are doing duplicate things. Just bring everyone together, help them collaborate, avoid duplicates. And have industry, academia, government, as well as a lot of NGOs that are working here, enable them to do things better. And then having that collaborative ecosystem is something that we need to create and set up a human infrastructure that nourishes and nurture the next generation and accept them. They are much higher potential than any one of us. Just let them explore, let them fail, let them make mistakes, and find their interest group and take forward from there. Thank you.
Thank you. The last word, Shishal.
So
Sorry?
I will, yes.
Okay. So he just want me to explain what I have done in Kerala. So I represent the IT community in Kerala. I'm the founder of FIRE, as well as I represent around 280 plus IT companies in the state. Okay. So what happened there is like people, they made me the academy and technology focus group convener as the interface to the academia and to the government to work in policies and as well as on bridging the skill gap. So I just did not want to duplicate anything. So I just took a stock of everything that is available there. A lot of people are putting a lot of effort. So I just brought them together and asked them to work together in a collaborative manner. So I brought a unified ID for skilling, just like a UPI ID for payment. We have something called MIO ID and a unified currency that the companies accept as the currency for skilling called karma. Okay.
Very good.
So proof of work should be proof of skills. So I made all the companies to come forward and tell that we are not looking for marks, we are looking for karma points. Karma points can be acquired only by getting a proof of work. For example, if you want to learn web development, we do not accept certificates. You have to go to a tea shop, collect the requirement, build a website for them, publish it, make it live, and for any support, there is a volunteer network of around 35,000 people in Kerala that is available to help them out.
Excellent. Excellent. So at the end, on behalf of JA, I'm going to actually do a volunteering act. We need to document and come out with an action. This is the kind of action that all of us together can take in the next 3 months, 6 months on one or two issues. Because otherwise, we'll just end up talking and nothing will happen.
So I met Jay in a very different scenario. So what happened was I went to him for some help. And while he was helping me, he starts blurting out Junicorn, right? So everybody sees what, you see the term. It basically stands for junior unicorns. And unicorns are very successful companies. So this actually starts, in my opinion, at home, right? I had a very, very good job. And then, when I was growing up in the 70s and 80s, right? Do you want to become an engineer, doctor, lawyer? You know, these were the most common things that were spoken about. And, you know, and when it came to a point where there was a discussion, what do you want your son to become, right? I said, and that gave me a thought, and then I went back to Ved, and I said, Ved, we have a huge population in India, right? Skilled, unskilled, that's a different, everybody else is under. So I said, hey, I want you to become an entrepreneur where you are providing employment to the masses we have in this country. And then a little later, that was when he was in middle school, I quit my job. I started my own company. At any given point in time, we have about 400 to 500 students who have actually graduated from college, going through training in embedded software and hardware. But again, coming back, I think, and that is to actually walk the talk, right? Start your own company, and it's very important for people who are parents. So I'm here talking as a parent. I'm not talking as an entrepreneur. I'm talking as a parent. There are risks in everything. There are risks in going home today, right? What is very important is to give the chance for success, right, to your children. And that's important. Education is important. Technology is important. But what is also important is where you at home give them that opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you. You know, we have our chief guest for the next thing, so I'm going to stop now. But I want to thank each one of you for being such wonderful co-collaborators. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Hello.
Thank you very much, esteemed panelists. It was a pleasure and absolutely inspiring to hear those valuable insights from each one of you. Before we conclude, may I invite our Honorable Chairman and Founder of International Startup Foundation, Shri J. Chaudhary sir, to share his vision on ISF Junicorns. Can we have a round of applause, please? Welcome, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. First of all, I would like to thank all the panelists and, of course, the chairman of ISF Junicorn for conducting this very important foundation block for India's future. So the reason why we have chosen ISF Junicorns as the most important roundtable in the entire conference, because today the technologies are changing every day, business models are changing every day. We cannot stuck to old curriculum, whatever NEP gives, whatever somebody gives, for example, whatever Deepu is doing. That is the kind of model that we need to come out with new curriculum and aligning with the industry, whatever Anil has done. Those are the things which are required for the, I think there are a lot of YouTube videos, people are telling no degrees are required, no marks are required. If students are capable of doing what we can give, I think those are the people, those are the entrepreneurial mindset which are required. If you keep on creating tons of people with just certificates, my kid is 99%, he has come from MIT or IIT, I think those days have gone. Now we have to get into our own curriculum, not IB curriculum or XYZ curriculum, our own Indian old ways of Gurukul curriculum where they have to do everything. I think that time has come for us to rethink about what is the education pedagogy that we have to, because I keep seeing some of my kids are studying in the schools and all that, my grandkids are studying this, they're getting stuck to some, their only aim is how to send to America, to Ivy League schools and all that. Those days are going. I think we have to come with a new curriculum, our Indian, that's where we will work together. How can we create ISF Gurukul curriculum? We'll work on that. Whichever school can adopt that curriculum, I'll work with Deepu and also Anil. I think those are the schools where students will come and parents also will, because parents want their kids to be successful. Their kids are not getting successful. Why the hell they have to pay lakhs of rupees as the fee and make them not successful entrepreneur, not successful employee? The days have come now. We have to really value for the time. They are giving a lot of time. How many years? 10 years of their precious time they are giving to the school management or college management. If those years are messed up and you release them to the market, they are unable to do anything because the world competitions have changed. The landscape has changed. So that's the reason why ISF Junicorns is going to be most important. We will work with all of you. And I like disruptive reforms, not a tinkering reforms of NEP. NEP reforms, I feel that they are only tinkering reforms. The tinkering reforms can take us nowhere. We need whatever Deepu has done in Kerala, whatever you have done in Orissa, we have to do much better than that. I really want to thank all our panelists to really work on this important thing. We will have a separate, under your chairmanship, boss, we will have a committee. We will come with a pedagogy. Thank you. So I want to give to our panelists a standing ovation for whatever the inputs they have given, because this is the foundation block for the future of India. Whatever Vikasit Bharat, the Bharat, we have to bring Bharat back, not India. The Bharat back is only through our Gurukul pedagogy and our own Vedic mathematics, our own whatever was there in the scriptures, those things have to be brought back. Maybe not the flashy buildings, maybe under a tree. We should be able to teach and make them think like an entrepreneur, think like an innovator, and be successful. With this, I once again want to thank and mementos for them.
A huge round of applause for all our esteemed panelists, please. And a small token of appreciation from ISF 2024 to this panel, Junicorns.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rumana, and all panelists. And
I request all of you to go to the exhibition stall where our ISF Junicorns have got amazing ideas, some of them entrepreneurial ideas. They're all waiting for you. You have to go and encourage them as soon as the next session is over. I request either today evening or whatever tomorrow time you have, you should go and encourage them, inspire them. Those are all waiting for you to... Huh? Yeah. So we have a break now, and we are going to start some entertainment program. So in this break, I request all of you to go to the stall, go to the particularly ISF Junicorn stall, encourage those young kids. Thank you.
Thank you, Jay Garu. In case you do not know what is this event which is going to happen now, trust me, it's one of the beautiful events. We have very good instruments. I know that this setup itself will take next 30 minutes. That's why Jay suggested all of us to go to exhibition. So please visit it, and please come back for next event, orchestra event, which is going to be performed by students from Mudanhalli campus. Thank you.